now that we understand like that notion of Moshe, and by the way, Moshe could be 7 shiurim, but just the notion of Moshe as the one who is impregnating the world with the Torah, taking the like we went from Ratzon all the way through the Chabads and the Chagats, the Chesed Bina, the Chachma Bina Das, etc. All that energy that manifests in the Torah coming into this world. And him conquering the world, he was also the beginning of the conquest of the land of Israel as his students. There was a part of that is very attractive to us. There's a part of that that's very hard for us. The idea to conquer, the idea of power, in a negative way is we know is one of the most dangerous mitos in the world. There are those who even say by Moshe that Moshe had a thirst for blood, and and you see places in the Torah where it manifests in the right way, killing the Mitzri who was beating Dasan Aviram or things like that, or when he fought against Og. So the Medrash, I don't know if you ever heard this. The Medrash says Moshe was 10 amos tall, his staff was 10 amos long, his extension of hand was 10 amos. Which is about...
Say that over again.
Moshe was about 10 amos tall, which is about 15 feet.
Okay.
His arm extended 15 feet, 10 amos. His staff extended 10 amos. And when he jumped 10 amos into the air. So you're talking about 15, about 60 feet. And he reached Og's ankle. And he conquered it. It's very cool, like Medrash. You see this little, right, like gigantic but little power. Whatever the Medrash means here, it's fascinating. Yeah. And you see this cool idea that we now the whole world was going to be, no matter how big it was going to be conquered by this. Was going to be owned and ruled by Hashem and His word. But it's a very dangerous midah. It's the midah where murder comes, right? It's the midah, right? To want to conquer, to be but it's also the midah that it's the drive that makes us want to go out into the world. Like you had mentioned by the Yetzer Hara, so that is a power that we use. So when you wake up in the morning and it is very unhealthy. It's very dangerous for someone to not be able to have Netzach, to not have a reason to get up and to fight and to say I'm going to conquer. Is where depression sets in. There's an amazing story in the early 1900s. There was early 1900s. There was a Professor Lustig, I think was his name, who was presented with a challenge. He found that there were children who were survivors of cancer who became obese. And it became a consistent thing that would happen over and over again. I actually don't remember where in the 1900s it was, so you can strike that and we can look it up. But he had this challenge because all of a sudden you have these parents coming in and say, we fought the biggest fight in the entire world. My kid gave it everything and they won. But not only did they become obese, they didn't want to move. And there was lots of scientists who were putting their time and research into trying to figure this out. And they would even hold their food and count the calories, like in a very controlled way, and the kids continued to gain weight. And what they found was that the metabolism in these kids had gone down so much because of insulin issues. With the fight with cancer, that essentially they no longer had any drive or energy to do anything, and they just kept getting bigger. And so what he did was he started giving them insulin injections, which signals to the body to take in glucose, and all of a sudden they had energy again. Their body was being signaled to process this. I don't understand all the science of it, but the way that the story is described is that kids even just started working out on their own. They got themselves back. And if you don't have the power to conquer, if you don't have Netzach, it's extremely dangerous, and it's sad and it's hard. But if it's too much of a drive, it's also dangerous, right?
It's like one of the biggest big challenge is children who are born with massive trust funds.
That's an amazing example.
And they end up becoming very depressed. Seen lots of documentaries on this. Like a lot of them end up getting into drugs, they have no purpose, suicide rates much higher.
Wow.
I mean, you have hundreds of millions of dollars set aside, but that's the whole idea. It's like, so then what do you fight for? What's the purpose?
Yeah.
And which I guess puts perspective into the lives of us who have struggles every day. We're like, we wish they would be lightened up a little bit. But I think that's the idea. We're here to conquer, but I like to focus a little bit and delineate between how the Yetzirah wants us to conquer and how the Yetzer Tov or Shema wants us to conquer, because those are two distinct things. The Yetzirah is grounded in pure selfishness, right? Taking everything from the world for itself, that's a shattering of the vessels. To receive just destroys itself. And we're trying to bring victory, which is the Torah way, which is to give and to unify, to bring all creation back to one.
Yeah.
In a way.
So that's where the solution to Netzach being harnessed is actually why it's Trei Palgei de Gufa, why it's two halves of the body, is that Netzach is not a meat on its own. Netzach is balanced with Hod, which we'll talk about more by Aaron, but just to understand is that every step, the Raglayim, you can't take a right step without a left step. You take a big step, you can't keep going. You need the left step to counterbalance. So what is Hod? Hod is from the word Hodah, thanks, admission, submission. It's the idea that, yes, I'm conquering, but every step that I conquer, none of it mattered. It was all God.
Right.
It was all me and it's all God at the same time. It's like, Bishvili Niver Alam, Hashem created the world for me. I gotta go, I gotta conquer, I gotta fight. But none of it was me at the same time. It's all a gift. It's all, like, all my gifts are really Hashem. And then I can take another, it's like, and once I recognize that, go fight again. I gave you something, I want you to put it in, I'm gonna give you a reward for it, you're gonna grow. Recognize. Right? And it's every step. That's how, like, sometimes, I'm not a Kabbalist at all, by any means, but sometimes you wonder with the path that you're taking in life, that sometimes when we take the step to the right, one of the segulas that we talked about for Parnasa is benching. And it's like, so you took a step, now you need to recognize, and then you can take another step, right? It's almost like it fits beautifully to the idea that you want to conquer more. I want you to conquer more. I want you to be able to win and succeed. I'm going to do it for you, but you gotta be able to take both the right and the left together.
That's interesting. So you're harnessing the Yetzirah in order to expand and have these victories and change who you are for the better, to fight and elevate the body. But then, of course, the next play of the Yetzirah is to shift you into arrogance, which just then totally pushes out Hashem from being. If you're being a Merkava, you're drawing Hashem into the world.
Right.
So that's the last step where the arrogance can step in and block everything you've accomplished so far.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll get into next week with Hod and Aaron.
Yeah. Can I finish with the story?
Please.
There's a very cool doctor in St. Louis. There's two very special doctors in St. Louis who are both cardiologists. One is Dr. Craig Reese, and one was his partner, Dr. Alan Weiss. I lived there for a while, and they're both like amazing tzaddikim. Dr. Weiss was the doctor of Rav Shach. It's cool. The Lubavitcher Rebbe and Rav Shach were kind of like Bali Machlokas. They took two sides of a coin. They both had cardiologists named Dr. Weiss, like different ones. The one Dr. Weiss in St. Louis was a fascinating person. And like one time, like he flew to Israel, and he gets to the hotel, and Rav Shach pulls up, He didn't tell anyone he was going to Israel. He went for like a day or two, and Rosh Hashanah goes up and said, "I just came to welcome you here." A very like eerie, like very spiritual, like deep connection. And he described that one time he was on a Pesach program, and he, I guess, in his journey of being as a Baal Tshuva, so as you're growing, you take on more things. If I have a detail off, forgive me, but in your journey as a Baal Tshuva, like you have different things that are challenges. And there were one challenge in particular that was his next jump that was hard for him, and it was on Pesach, and he saved someone's life. There was someone who had a heart attack, he had nitroglycerin, he saved the person's life, and the person bought him an aliyah. What aliyah did he buy him? He bought him on Shvi Shal Pesach, a 7th-day Pesach. He bought him the aliyah of Azi Asher, of the sea splitting. And he has a unique way of reading the Torah, and he's spoken to Gedolim about it. And one of the psukim in Azi Asher says, Sus v'rochvo ramavayam, that the horse and its rider were thrown into the sea. And his shot on that pasuk is as follows: that the horse represents the Yetzer Hara, it's the tool, it's the merkava, it's the ability to run places, and the rider is the one on top who guides it. And if the sus v'rocho, if the horse and its rider are thrown to the sea, so then what that means is that where the Yetzer Hara is in charge, that was cast away. During the Aliyah, he said he felt this incredible transformation. He felt like the Yetzer Hara for this challenge just dropped, just thrown out the window. And later that day, there was a man who came up to him and said, "Can I talk to you?" I said, "Sure." He said, "I'm a ben achar ben of the Ramah. I'm a son of the Ramah, or of Moshe Israelis, and I just want to tell you as outside confirmation that whatever this spiritual experience you had today was real." Wild story, no?
Wow.
And
He didn't share this with anyone.
this story,
Yeah.
I actually heard it. I didn't even hear it first person. I heard it from a very good friend of his. But he hadn't shared it with anyone. He just came up to him and it said, like meaning it wasn't like something he announced to people. Like the man came up to him and told him this.
Right.
Why am I telling this story? The sus v'roch v'ramavayam is you should know, like in life, like you have a power of Netzach. You have a power to conquer. God put you in this world, and you're walking around, and like Netzach to conquer also requires continuous work, over and over, and the steps are hard. And sometimes we don't know like when that moment is that's going to turn. But sometimes when there's the dip, when the things get harder, that's just the sign that you're almost there. It has to come. It's part of the process, right? It's like the hard part is there, and then you take the next step, and then you take the left step and say thank you, and you take the right step and say the left step. And that's really where, if you want to grow in Netzach, and I'm talking to myself too, because I struggle with Netzach. It's probably the hardest midah of all my midos to win, maybe. But just the idea of knowing that the continued fight, it's like you're not alone, and there's power and there's nace and things that are involved. But your job, right? Like you have to remember the hope. But your job is you just keep fighting. If it's aligned, if you know that it's coming from Ratzon, from Keter, from the right place in your mind, the right place in your heart, you just keep taking the steps. And that's the message of Netzach is right. Like if your Torah, the Torah is the ultimate power of Netzach. If that's how you're aligned, then that's how you're going out into the world, and that's the mark you're leaving.
Amazing. That was very beneficial to hear that and get a much better understanding of that. Yeah, I just want to sort of summarize this idea that you brought a lot more clarity to me on the essence of our life. You know, we tend to get, we learn Torah, and it's, you know, it's intellectually like, wow, fascinating. Did you hear this? You know, it's like, and then we can live in this like intellectual world. But that Torah is not supposed to sustain itself and exist just in our intellectual world. You know, Hashem wants us to take that Torah and transform ourselves from it. Was it you that were talking about the tefillin?
Yeah.
Right. You were talking about, the last episode, you were talking about the knot on the tefillin that takes the idea of Emunah and brings it into the body. The technology of the tefillin, one day we'll have the mathematics for it. I don't know if I shared this with you in that episode, not to get too far off track, but I shared with the audience when I did an episode on tefillin. I concluded with a study that was done about 5 or 6 years ago, where they realized that that people who wore tefillin had like much significantly statistically lower probability of having issues with heart conditions.
Wow.
Like it was like off the charts, like this is a statistical anomaly that people who are wearing tefillin don't have heart conditions at the rate of everyone else. And the scientists are saying they've been like, they're investigating the tefillin, you know, they're taking it apart, trying to figure out like, what is the properties here?
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, they'll figure out that metaphysical math when Mashiach comes.
It's, you know the two straps are called Netzach and Hod, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
If you Baruch Shekivanta, you saw it coming.
So, wait, which is which?
I think the one on the right, I think, is Netzach. I have to double check.
Talking about
the straps that come out of the back of the knot, which is Das, that connects it to the world, right?
Oh, it's
right,
Netzach
yeah.
and Hod. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful.
It's pretty cool, no?
Yeah, very cool. But I mean, I love this whole idea too. That we talked a lot about the emotional element, but like I said, that's fluid, and how do we take that and then bring permanence to it. And it is this whole idea that I'm sure we'll continue to build on with the next episode on Hod, but it's the eternity. And finally makes sense to me. The eternity in victory is when we make those changes within ourselves. You know, it's like one of the things I brought up over Shavuos when I was giving a teaching is this idea that during the time in Mitzrayim and Egypt, Pharaoh had us, or more specifically, Hashem had Pharaoh have us build these structures on soft soil. So we would build the structure, and then before we took any pride in it, it would collapse.
Right.
And it sort of instilled this idea of that we need to focus on making sure that we are always working on Netzach. That what are you building? Is it permanent?
Wow.
And you think about things like struggling to start a business. And then you think, okay, well, Hashem's controlling the livelihood. So what am I doing in this equation? Just give me the money.
Right.
You know, like let's just make this simpler. Okay.
Right.
Here's my bank account number. Just put the money there. Let's skip the whole business. But that's not it. The whole, commerce causes us to engage with other people. It forces, it leads us around the chessboard to put us in these situations where we can then change who we are. And that is the permanent, eternal structure. And that is where victory comes in life. It's not that we earn money, build a business, but we overcame all the things and changed ourselves. That's what he's trying to guide us to do. Because that's the permanent structure, that's the victory, that's the eternity, that's the Netzach.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Look forward to next week.
Let's do it.
All right.